Hello, my name is Emily, and I'm going to be talking about non-governmental organizations' role in disaster situations. Before describing the various roles that a non-governmental organization, or NGO, play in a disaster situation, it is important to adequately define them. An NGO is an organization that has the following 5 qualities: is independent of government, is civilian-based and staffed, is staffed by members with a common background, has a primary mission that is not commercial, and depends on outside sources of funding and materials. The common background that members share could be based on religion, geography, field of study, or several other areas. These organizations can range in size from small community groups to very large organizations that operate globally. Several non-governmental organizations have acquired nonprofit status in the United States. In situations, governments may contract with NGOs to provide services that may not be offered through public agencies. Some of the essential services that non-governmental organizations provide during disaster response and recovery are emergency shelter, aid in search and rescue of victims, providing food for victims, health care, home repair, psychological counseling, and pet rescue. Although these organizations often work with the government to coordinate response, several organizations may offer independent services that do not necessarily fit the formal structure for disaster response. Support in preparedness and mitigation. Some of the ways that contingency planner associations, public administrators, and other NGOs aid in preparedness are by encouraging attention to nation standards that are in place to prevent extensive damage from disasters, lobbying for political and financial support to expand and encourage planning and training, and educating members on how to ensure their own agencies and members are practicing preparedness. The American Red Cross. This organization is a private, nonprofit organization that is not financed by tax dollars, nor does it contract with governments. The American Red Cross provides completely free assistance in the form of health services, blood services, sheltering, and other various necessary forms of aid. The assistance provided by this organization is done primarily through volunteers, and they also provide several thorough training programs to prepare volunteers and community members for disaster situations. The foundation of disaster response. NGOs are often concentrated in one area of expertise where most of their knowledge and capabilities lie. For this reason, these organizations typically focus their assistance in these areas that they are most familiar with. NGOs are valuable to the response and recovery effort for several reasons, but one of the most important would be their knowledge of the community they operate in. Earlier this year, a devastating earthquake affected Nepal that left many homeless and in need of assistance. This recent disaster is a perfect example of the crucial role that non-governmental organizations play in disaster relief around the world. The role of NGOs is especially helpful in countries such as Nepal, where much of the federal aid is misappropriated to political supporters. Since non-governmental organizations are not as dependent on political policy, they are able to distribute their aid and assistance to those who are truly in need. Political unrest over the past several years was responsible for the lack of preparedness and mitigation initiatives in place in the country. Since there are multiple of these organizations providing aid to a country that is not equipped to coordinate these efforts, the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs steps in to aid in the area and implemented a cluster approach to ensure fewer aid gaps and less overlaps. Some NGOs that have been prominent in disaster relief in Nepal are Action Aid, AmeriCares, Care International, Mercy Corps, Relief International, and World Vision.